Okay, this was not at all what I expected from this episode, and that's a very good thing. I guess to start with my overall opinion, this was so close to being one of the best episodes of the entire show, and I feel like that makes its failings even more of a shame. Like, as this episode progressed, I'm like, man, if this sticks to landing, this could be like top five episodes of the entire series, like material. This was so insanely creative, unique, and good that I was like, oh my god. And like genuinely scary. It's so like so rare when a Doctor Who episode is genuinely scary. Usually they're like, the scary ones end up being silly. And that's just the nature of the show. But this was like genuinely terrifying, and I'll get into that. But unfortunately, it just didn't stick the landing for me. I know a lot of people are still giving this like incredible praise, and I think it does deserve a ton of praise for what it does right, but it just fails to conclude and tie everything up. And I think that like kind of like, detracts from it. And so one thing I do want to say though is that I think there's a very strong chance that a lot of the mysteries of this episode might end up tying into the overarching like narrative of the season, like the background plot. um I'm not sure. It could be totally unregarded, but I feel like there's a this being a Ruby centric episode and the Doctor and I being present, I feel like there's a lot going on with Ruby, that this could be building toward, I guess. And like I wonder if like the events of this episode were only made possible because of Ruby's true nature, which we're yet to discover. So this could be one of those episodes that's like tied up later in the season once we get to like the climax of the season, but I don't know if that's the case for sure. This could very well be completely standalone story. uh yeah, so it was not at all what I expected. I went into this episode, I saw like the Russell T Davies like Instagram posts throughout the week, and I saw some like initial like content from it, and I was like, okay, this is going to be like an It Follows ripoff. And it was an It Follows ripoff, but it goes like off the rails into such an interesting, like engaging story. Like, like just the fact that like, it starts off like Ruby's just stranded, and like the doctor's gone, she has to deal with all this herself, and like, luckily enough she's back in her time and can just like and close enough to where she could take like a couple of hours train ride to get back to where she lives. But like it's like like you just think about that like it's just so I thought that was such an interesting post, like of like an interesting example of like a character abandonment, like where it's like, oh fuck, like I've stayed in an inn in this town for 2 days, but he's not coming back. I think I just gotta take a train home. And like the fact that she doesn't know necessarily it's her time period, so she's trying to like finagle her way through without like look at the time. I think she's like, can you do Apple Pay? Like trying to like finagle like figure things out. I don't know. And the ingenuity of Ruby as a character like really blossomed in this episode. I feel like she's always been like since Church on Ruby Road like an incredibly endearing character to me, but like this really cemented her as like a really strong like companion. Like, like this was some like Rose Martha Jones behavior, like her here this episode in the end, like. And like I don't know, I'm just a sucker for like companion heavy stories where the companion has to live out like an extremely long amount of time, like pretty much sacrificing like years of their life, like in this case her whole life, for the doctor. And like, it's so I don't know, it just had such an and the most genuinely scary element of it is like I was like, oh, it's just It Follows. And I think when it twisted for me, I'm like, oh, this is like actually kind of scary, was when like she's like, do you see this person that's in the distance staring at me? And they're like, yes. like yeah, there's a person there, but they don't think anything of it. And that's what I think makes it so scary. And like the concept of them like going up to this person for Ruby, because Ruby can't get close because it keeps this entity, whatever it is, keeps adjusting itself to be exactly 73 yards away from Ruby at all times. She gets other people to go up and talk to it, but whatever it says to them makes them like despise Ruby and like not interact with her anymore. And it ruins her life. It ruins like her like all these chances at salvation from this like terrible situation. It just goes, and it's like it's so crushing every time it happens. I'm just like, oh no, not this time too. Like she's so close. Like especially when like, she was dealing with Unit, I was like, oh, she's so close. She's so close. And I knew they were, the episode wouldn't have worked if it just worked out like that. So I knew deep down it was going to be crushing. But yeah, this episode really cemented the long haul that she takes. It really cemented Ruby as such like a really like strong character for me, with like such agency separate from the Doctor, that I think like marks the signs of the strongest Doctor Who companion characters. So yeah, I mean, there was a little like a bit of tonal dissonance where it starts off as this like creepy like small village horror kind of thing, and it like shifts into like this like political thriller, but I think it all worked. I think it worked. I saw a lot of people complaining about that, but I think the narrative itself worked up until the end, when the story concludes without explaining much of it. And I am all here for stories with a lot of ambiguity. I love stories where you have to go digging after the fact and trying to put puzzle pieces together, but it still has to be discernible once you put those puzzle pieces together. Like, a story doesn't work if you can research it endlessly and still have no, or theorize endlessly and still have no concrete answers. And I thought that was what was really like kind of frustrating about this episode, I would say. Like the fact that like, you make it all the way to the end and then nothing's answered. And it's just kind of like you're back to square one as if it never happened. So yeah, overall, it was really close. It was really close, but it didn't stick the landing. I think that's the gist of my thoughts. I feel like I'm like going to be thinking about this one a lot. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought, and if you have any theories or other ideas, like maybe how this connects to the overarching plot of the season or anything like that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoy this video.